Like 10 years ago, I worked as a DJ at a radio station. And when I quit that job, when I put in my notice, my boss lost her mind. I had been working at that job for a couple years, and I think that they were just used to people sticking around forever and never leaving. But I had a 5-year plan, and there was another radio station that I really wanted to work at. It was like my dream job. 6 months later, I got that job. Crazy. Anyways, I put in my notice and I walked into one of the production rooms. I sat down and I handed her my notice, and I was like, I'm really sorry, but I found a new job and so I have to leave. She got up and slammed the door in my face. Super mature. Very grown-up behavior, you know? Not long after that, she told me that she couldn't believe that after all of the hard work that she had put into me, that I was going to go and give all of that, like, skill or whatever to another station. The way she phrased it was, after all the work I put into you, which completely negates all the work I put in for myself. So that was fucked up. Anyways, another thing I'd like to say, she used to make fun of me all the time for wearing a full face of makeup to work because it was like 2015, 2016. You know what the makeup looked like, okay? So it wasn't like amazing, but also like for the time, like it was in. Like I remember specifically one day I came in and I was like, hi, like filling out my time card, just doing my thing. And she's staring at me from across the room and I was like, what? And she goes, I don't really like what's going on with your face. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't know. I like the skin, but I don't like the eyebrows and I don't like the eyeliner. You should really just do without that next time. And I was like, okay, no. Sorry. I like it this way and I'm gonna keep doing it this way. And so I did. Anyways, I mentioned that because nowadays she is always wearing a full face of makeup, very a la 2016, and pushing a makeup MLM. Anyways, want to know what made me the most angry? I gave a 2-week notice. I worked a week and then I got violently ill. I got the norovirus. Okay, that's going around right now. This is actually what reminded me. Up until I got the Rona at the end of 2023, that was the sickest I had ever been. I blacked out for like 5 days. I was so sick I don't remember stuff, and my family had to call out for me. Finally, I ended up talking to her on the phone once I like came to. I'm so serious. It was like 5 straight days. She was like mad at me for fucking up their whole week because like I was out and then someone needed to cover my show, which meant someone needed to work extra, which meant that everyone was unhappy because that's what happens when you work somewhere where being sick is like not allowed. And that's what made me the most angry. She said to me, she told me there was no excuse for being sick. It's up to me to make sure that I am putting like precautionary measures in place to make sure that I don't get sick. It's my job to make sure that I am well enough so that I never have to call out, because calling out is unacceptable. Once again, I must put in preventative measures to make sure that I don't get sick. She's MAGA. She's MAGA. So just for a second, she got mad at me for norovirus. She got mad at me for being sick. She said, you need to do preventative measures to make sure that you don't get sick. Okay, great. But you're now a part of the same group that wouldn't wear masks. Anyways, I had a dream like a couple of weeks ago that in my dream, I spawned into the studio at the radio station. I was behind the mic. I spawned there and it was just dead air. And I knew that I had to like run my show. Every single thing was manual. Like every commercial played, every jingle, every song, every single thing was manually played in like a bunch of different programs. It was like a whole thing. Nothing was automated. My brain still has that in there somewhere. In my dream, I ran like an hour and a half of a show as if it was like 2015. And then I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I don't work there anymore, but that's in my brain somewhere. Isn't that crazy? Like, just a set of events, like everything is just always so full circle. At the time, like when I was leaving that job, that was like very deeply damaging to me, emotionally, psychologically. But now I just feel bad for young me for having to deal with that. And I also feel bad for like her because she's in a very vulnerable position, I feel, and has been like taken advantage of by a bunch of like cults, essentially. I don't know. I hope she gets out of them someday. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because have you ever had a job where like you're told that you are never supposed to be sick and if you get sick, it's your fault? Because like I did. My very first job instilled into me deeply a fear of ever calling out. This also was the same lady that banned me from talking about politics on the air the day that Donald Trump announced his presidency because I got on the air and I made fun of him because I thought we were joking. I thought it was a joke. Haha. And she banned me from ever talking about politics again. She chewed me out for that. Here's another one. She didn't like the way I pronounced the word the. T-H-E. I'm not kidding. Because sometimes when you're reading things, you need to say the. It's not always the. she got mad that occasionally I would say the when like putting emphasis on something. She was like, you need to say the. And I started overthinking my speech to the point where I ended up with like a weird stutter. And I kind of still have that problem now. Fun fact, I never actually like finished my time there because I worked a week of my 2-week notice and then I got so violently ill and then like I didn't ever go back. I was still so sick when I started my new job that I went for a day, and then my new boss was like, you don't look so good. And I was like, yeah, I gotta go home. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting over this illness. I'm like, sorry, it won't happen again. And he's like, I don't really care that much. Like, we'll be fine. Things are automated here. And I was like, this is crazy. The lore from that time of my life is so deep and traumatizing and like terrible, and this stuff isn't like that bad in comparison to some other stuff, but like I used to get very upset thinking about this, and now I just think about it, I'm like, this is so funny. Like, time really does heal all wounds, because like I wish I could go back in time and tell young me that. Are you kidding me? She would eat that shit up. Anyways, thank you for listening to me rant for 6.5 minutes. Love you so much. Goodbye. I have a couple of thoughts, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you think that you are far enough away from what is happening over there and that it will never affect you, or the most it'll ever affect you is annoyance on your feed, that you have to keep seeing the horrors that exist on this planet, I just want you to have heard this, like, straight up, point blank, at least once in your life, if you haven't heard it already. You can hear it from me. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if you think I'm fear-mongering. I don't give a shit. You think this is bad? This is just the beginning. What is happening to them is a test run for what they're gonna do to us. And that shouldn't be the reason you care, but it should terrify you. Because when, not if, when, you are in so much trouble and you are screaming and no one is listening, because there's no one left to listen, because especially if you're white, you will be the last one affected by this. Just, I need that to be known. And if your response is, well, I'll make the right vote, that'll never happen here. You are wrong. You are so wrong. And God, I wish you were right. I do. But when there will be no time for an I told you so. Do you understand that? Nobody wants to be like, see, I told you. The world is ending. They're gonna kill us all. But they will. They will. They are. And you are okay with it. So, and you may not pay for your decisions of silence in this lifetime, but you will in the next. If not this one, you will in the next. Everything you have ever been told about how our government runs is a lie. Every time you've been told you have a choice, it is a lie. Every time you've been told that you're free, that is a lie. And then you say, freedom isn't free, you gotta fight for it. I know so many people are like tired and really just heartbroken with the shit they see every day, and watching people just live their lives and like take care of their own mental health, which, like, again, like, you're allowed to take care of your mental health, but you can't opt out of this, because if you're my age, or I'm in between millennial and Gen Z, I tend to relate more to the Gen Z attitude. But if you're young, if you're a millennial or you're a Gen Z, we spend a lot of time talking about how our parents failed us by not fighting to give us a world worth living in. And a lot of us have spent a long time going, how did people not care for so long that the shit got so fucked up? And here we are. And so many of us are doing the same thing and justifying it with the same reasons. I got too much other shit to worry about. That shit you have to worry about has been manufactured for you to worry about. All of your worries and your problems, think about how many of them are real and how many of them have been imposed upon you by a system that wants you to suffer every moment, and then look to them for the answer for the problem that they caused. So then it's like, okay, what do I do? Because, like, what do I do? Anything, literally anything. If the bare minimum is for you to educate yourself, do that, because when you know what is going on, no one can tell you different. At the very least, educate yourself enough to know without a shadow of a doubt that it's wrong, what's going on. That it is horrible, that it is evil, that it is sinister, that it is vile. Come to terms with and face that so that we can all move forward. And also, if you're sitting there going, like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? Listen to Black people. Listen to people of color. Listen to Indigenous people. Listen to the people who have led successful protests. Listen and read the stories of people who have led successful revolutions, who have fought against their oppressors and won. And most importantly, I cannot stress this enough, if you are sitting there going, what the fuck do I do? You can't fix the whole world. You can't fix what's going on over there, because we're here, but you can pick your corner of the world where you are physically. Not the internet. I mean, the internet, yes. Where you are physically in this world, that is your corner to tend to. Those are the people that, when this gets really bad, those are the people you're stuck with. But when shit hits the fan, for real, the people who have been denying this whole time, the people who said over and over again, it's not going to happen here, they won't be able to deny that it did. And that still won't help them survive. So what you can do now is prepare for the worst case scenario. If you haven't been doing that already, you should. Get ready and just don't shut the fuck up. Because how do you tell an entire generation of children, 10-year-olds in Ulta, 10-year-olds in Sephora, how do you tell a whole generation of kids that you have already given up on their future? And then how do you expect them to give a shit enough to want to make the world better? Anyways, that's all.